Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've ever tried, every sleep aid out there and still found yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., you get it. The generic approach to sleep failure is, well, it's a failure itself.
It really is.
Today, we are going to tear apart the myth that bad sleep is just random. You're not unlucky, you're experiencing an identifiable physiological malfunction. We're talking hormones, neurotransmitters, all of it.
And crucially, how to fix the signal that's gone wrong, not just mask the symptom.
Exactly.
That's the core idea in the sources we looked at. Most products on the shelf achieve sedation. That's all they do. Think of it like a broken clock where you just, yank the plug from the wall.
Right. It stops making noise, but it's not fixed.
Precisely. You're unconscious, sure, but you haven't restored the deep sleep architecture. The transitions between sleep phases, they're just gone. You might be out, but you are not recovering.
So our mission today is really a diagnostic one. We're unpacking two huge physiological failure pathways. First, the cortisol modulation pathway.
And second, the circadian timing pathway.
For each one, we're going to identify the signs, the real signs, and then the targeted supplements that actually match the specific problem. This is about turning off the internal wake signal, not just hitting the emergency brake.
Right. We're moving beyond the one-size-fits-all fixes and into, personalized thinking. You have to understand why your sleep is failing to ever really fix it.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the stress hormone that basically dictates the rhythm of our entire day and night, cortisol. This is the pathway that fails when your brain just refuses to shut down.
It really is the body's master schedule maker. Ideally, it should spike hit its highest point within an hour after you wake up.
That's your get up and go signal.
Exactly, your morning push. Then, it should drop steadily all day long, reaching its lowest point, its absolute minimum, right before you plan to sleep. That steep drop is the signal. It tells your brain, okay, it's safe now, the day is over, time to switch off.
And the failure state is when that drop just doesn't happen, right? Our modern lives seem designed to flatten that curve.
They really are. When you're chronically stressed or you keep jolting your system, that evening drop gets blunted. The curve flattens out. Or worse, it actually shifts higher at night. And your brain gets stuck in what we call wake-ready mode.
Wake-ready mode, I like that.
Yeah. Your amygdala, the threat detection center, it stays reactive. Your prefrontal cortex keeps running those thought loops, and your nervous system just refuses that transition into sleep.
So if you take a heavy sedative when your cortisol is high, you're just knocking yourself unconscious. The stress machinery is still running in the background.
You got it. You're bypassing the whole mechanism. You get unconsciousness, but you don't get that deep, restorative sleep.
So if your cortisol timing is off, you're not tired. You're actively wired. Why does this happen so often?
It's almost always modern stressors. And it's not usually one big thing. It's those repeated micro spikes of cortisol all day long.
Like that 3 p.m. coffee.
That afternoon caffeine hit, exactly. It artificially boosts cortisol and delays that critical evening drop or, screens late at night. They stimulate a part of the brain called the locus coeruleus.
Which is the brain's arousal center.
Right. It's a signal that light is present, so you have to stay vigilant. It's an ancient mechanism that just doesn't work with iPhones.
And the mental side of it is massive, isn't it? That unresolved mental to-do list that just runs on a loop. It keeps your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, switched on.
Constantly active. And don't forget blood sugar. If your blood sugar crashes overnight, your body releases cortisol to bring it back up.
Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons people wake up suddenly around 3 or 4 a.m.
Okay, so if I'm listening right now, how do I know if this cortisol pathway is my problem? What are the calling cards?
The signs are really distinct. You feel awake or even mentally sharp at night. You might get that classic second wind around 9 or 10 p.m.
That's not real energy, is it? It's a cortisol surge.
It's a cortisol surge. The biggest sign, though, is lying in bed with a racing mind and a restless body. Or waking up like clockwork between 3 and 4 a.m. with that jolt of anxiety or adrenaline.
The 3 a.m. panic, I think a lot of people know that feeling.
It's a classic stress surge interrupting your sleep cycles. So if it takes you more than, say, 30 minutes to fall asleep because you can't shut off your thoughts, this pathway is probably malfunctioning.
Okay, that is a crystal clear picture of the mentally wired person. So if that's you, you need targeted correction. You need to reset the HPA axis. What are the tools for that?
We look at three main players. First is the adaptogen ashwagandha, specifically the KSM66 or sensoryl forms. They're the most studied.
Right.
Its whole job is to stabilize the HPI axis itself. It reduces that stress-induced cortisol and helps shift you into that rest and digest parasympathetic state. It's best for people whose alertness is really driven by anxiety.
Okay, so that calms the whole system down. Then there's L-theanine. I know people use that for focus, but how does it work for sleep?
L-theanine is fascinating. It works directly on your brain waves. It reduces the excitatory neurotransmitters that keep you alert, and it promotes alpha brain waves, the ones you see in meditation.
So it's not a sedative, it just helps your brain get out of that on position.
Exactly. It's perfect if your thoughts are just too busy to stop.
What about the people who wake up at 4 a.m. feeling that jolt of stress?
For them, we look at phosphatidylserine, or PS. PS is unique because it directly blunts that elevated evening cortisol. It tells the pituitary gland to turn down the stress hormone production line.
So it's perfect for someone who is physically exhausted but mentally wired.
Or for those who get those early morning stress spikes. PS helps re-anchor the cortisol curve back to where it should be.
And the key here is not to just slam on the brakes, right? If you overcorrect, you feel awful in the morning.
Exactly. This has to be gradual. Consistent use over several days allows the HPA axis to reset itself. If you go too hard too fast, you just get morning grogginess. It's about stable regulation, not a shock to the system.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so we've covered stress timing. Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me. If pathway 1 is about stress, pathway 2 is all about clock timing, the circadian rhythm, and it hinges on one hormone everyone thinks they know, melatonin.
And the misunderstanding of melatonin causes so many problems. Let's be very clear. Melatonin does not knock you out. It doesn't.
It's a signal.
It is purely a signal. Its only job is to tell your brain that the biological day is ending and the sleep window is coming. If you take a high dose and feel groggy, that's a side effect of just overwhelming your system.
So the problem for a lot of people isn't that they don't make melatonin, it's that their body releases it like 2 hours too late.
You've got it. It's called circadian drift. Your internal clock just thinks the day ends later than it actually does. So you try to sleep at 10:30, but your body clock's set for 12:30.
And that creates 2 hours of just tossing and turning.
Frustrating, wide-awake tossing and turning. And people label it insomnia when it's really just a timing disorder.
And the sources suggest this is maybe the most common hidden cause of bad sleep today. Why are we all drifting so late?
Our environment is constantly screaming daytime at our brains. The internal clock needs strong signals or Zeitgebers to stay anchored. The biggest one is bright sunlight in the first hour after you wake up.
The morning anchor.
It's the anchor. If you skip that, or if you expose yourself to blue light from screens and overhead lights late at night, you just aggressively suppress melatonin and push your clock forward.
It's what happens when modern life ignores sunrise and sunset. Inconsistent sleep times, shift work, working late, it all keeps the brain in D mode.
And if you have clock drift, the feeling is different from high cortisol. You don't feel stressed and wired, you feel exhausted, but you just can't fall asleep until a certain late hour. Your energy is all shifted forward into the night.
Okay, so if that's your profile, the night owl who wants to be a morning person, your fix needs to be about synchronization, not sedation. And the first tool is the one that needs a huge re-education, low-dose melatonin.
And we have to stress the dose. The standard dose in stores is 5, 10, even 20 milligrams. We're talking about 0.3 to 1 milligram.
Wait, hold on. A tenth of the standard dose,
Yeah.
or even less. Why is that so crucial?
Because the big doses just overwhelm your receptors. They distort the natural signal. They act more like a drug, which is why people feel groggy and can become dependent. A low dose, on the other hand, acts purely as a signal.
Like a nudge.
It's a nudge. It gently tells the internal clock, hey, it's time to shift back, without suppressing your own natural production.
So it's a whisper saying, sunset is now, instead of a shout, and the timing is just as important, I assume.
It's absolutely vital. You have to take that low dose 60 to 90 minutes before your ideal bedtime, not when you get into bed. If you take it at bedtime, you've missed the window. The signal came too late.
What else can help with this timing correction?
Magnesium. Specifically, the glycinate or threonate forms. Magnesium helps with melatonin receptor sensitivity, and it calms the electrical activity in the brain. Glycinate is great if you have physical restlessness or muscle tension. Threonate is better if your issue is more cognitive overload. Your brain just won't quiet down.
And for people who are sensitive to synthetic stuff, are there any natural options?
Yes, the sources point to tart cherry extract. It has natural melatonin precursors, so it creates a gentler curve. It's a great option for shifting the sleep window earlier by maybe 30 to 60 minutes, especially when you pair it with the right light habits.
So the rule for pathway 2 is clear. Timing matters way more than dose. You have to be consistent, and you must get that morning sunlight and avoid bright light before bed.
Absolutely. Fixing clock drift is probably the single highest leverage thing you can do for stable sleep if your timing is off.
Okay, let's put this all together. It's really clear that taking something for cortisol failure isn't going to fix a circadian drift problem from your phone.
Not at all. And throwing a huge dose of melatonin at a 3 a.m. cortisol surge is just, it's pointless. You have to identify the primary failure. Is it stress or is it timing? That's the diagnostic step that makes everything else work. Without it, you're just guessing.
Okay, let's hit some of the big confusion points from the sources. What's the most common hidden cause of bad sleep?
It's overwhelmingly the delayed circadian clock, that timing drift. Most people think they can't fall asleep insomnia when they actually just have a timing mismatch problem.
And why can 8 hours of sleep still leave me feeling exhausted?
Because architecture matters more than duration. If you didn't hit those deep cycles of NREM stage 3 and REM sleep because of high cortisol or other disruptions, then 8 hours of junk sleep won't do anything for recovery.
What should people absolutely avoid?
High-dose melatonin, anything over 1 milligram, alcohol, which totally fragments your deep sleep, and really any heavy sedative that just forces unconsciousness instead of fixing the underlying problem.
And how long does this take? When should people expect to see results?
Well, falling asleep faster, that sleep onset time, that should improve in 5 to 10 days. But restoring the actual deep sleep architecture and fully resetting the system, that takes time. Usually 3 to 6 weeks of being really consistent.
So the takeaway here is that the path to recovery isn't a one-size-fits-all pill. It requires you to be a detective about your own body and match the fix to the specific malfunction.
And that leads to a final, maybe provocative thought for you to consider. If these non-sedative pathway-specific tools don't create reliance, but just allow your body to do the job it's already designed to do, how much energy have you wasted over the years treating the symptom, the inability to fall asleep, instead of fixing the core signal, whether that's your cortisol timing or your circadian clock?
That is a powerful question. It really shifts the entire way we think about rest. Thank you for sharing your source material for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.